Welcome to Reclaiming Me, a trauma-informed podcast helping women with complex PTSD heal the lasting impact of childhood attachment wounds from parents and caregivers, so you can finally release people-pleasing and perfectionism and learn to trust in relationships, beginning with the one you have with yourself. I'm your host, Cindy Payne, therapist, trauma specialist, and a woman who has walked this path both personally and professionally.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the midweek reframe. And if you haven't listened to Monday's full-length episode yet, please go back and do that first, because we went into some real territory around envy and jealousy and CPTSD. And I think it's going to land for a lot of you. And today I want to take the sharpest edge of that episode and give you one place to put it this week. So here is what I notice with envy. When it arrives, it's that hot, uncomfortable, instantly recognizable feeling. And before it has even fully landed, the shame is already there, right behind it. And sometimes it's ahead of it. And the shame sounds something like this. I shouldn't feel this. This makes me petty. This makes me small. What kind of a person feels this? And here is what I want to say about that. The shame almost always arrives faster than the curiosity. And for CPTSD survivors, that is not an accident, because we were trained, most of us, in our families, in our earliest relationships, to manage our emotions before they became invisible, to make ourselves acceptable, to not want too much or need too much or feel too much. And envy feels like a wanting. Envy feels like need. And so the shame comes in fast to shut it down before anyone, including ourselves, has to see it. And I hear this often with clients, that they feel embarrassed, that this is not something that they should want, that they should be happy with what they have. It's kind of like, I just need to settle with these scraps. And if I want anything bigger for myself, then it somehow means that I am ungrateful. And I've even had clients that have shared with me that when they have expressed their wants, desires, dreams, they have been told by their family of origin that they are ungrateful. But here's what I want you to hear about shame. Shame prevents us from action, from the doing. It prevents us from asking that one question that makes envy genuinely useful. And here is the question. What does this tell me about what I most deeply want? Not in a comparative sense, not like I want what she has, but at a deeper level, the real level, the level where your inner life is actually speaking. So when you feel envy towards someone who seems to move through their career or life with kind of this ease and confidence, what is it that you are actually longing for? And if you can sit with the question long enough and stay curious long enough, I think you'll find that maybe it is the permission to take up more space. Or maybe it is a version of your work that feels less like swimming upstream. Maybe it's just the ease, the experience of not having to work so hard just to feel like you belong somewhere. Maybe it's freedom. When you feel envy towards people whose lives seem lighter, less complicated, less weighted by history, what are you actually longing for? Maybe it's rest. Maybe it is a nervous system that can finally exhale. Maybe it is grief for the version of yourself that might have existed if things had been different. And when friendship jealousy arrives, that fear of being replaced or of losing someone you love to somebody new, what are you actually longing for? Maybe it's reassurance. Maybe it is the felt sense, not just the intellectual knowledge that you are somebody worth staying for. And these longings, again, they're not shameful. They are not evidence of your worst self. They are some of the most honest things about you, and they deserve to be heard. So here is the practice this week. The next time envy or jealousy arrives, and it will because you are human, so before the shame takes over, try asking this. Just pause first, take one breath, and ask the question, what is this pointing me toward? What am I actually longing for right now? And you do not have to answer this question immediately. You don't have to resolve it or fix it or even act on it. But you just have to stay with the question long enough to get curious. So one breath longer than you normally would before the shame moves in and takes over. And that's really it. That's the whole practice. Just one breath of curiosity before the criticism arrives. And here's the question I want you to carry into your week. What have I been envying lately? And what does that tell me about what I most deeply want for myself? Not what it says about who you are or about what you want, because those are very different questions. And the second one is the one worth sitting with. So your envy is not your enemy. It is not evidence of your pettiness or your insecurity or your smallness. It is your inner life trying to get your attention in one of the most direct ways it knows how. And it is pointing somewhere very real. So I invite you to follow it with as much curiosity as you can hold and really see where it leads. And, for me personally, when I first started doing this work, so naming the shame that I felt around envy, I then had to kind of take myself on a little quest and see if I could notice a pattern in the things and the people and the lifestyles that I was envying. And the common thread through all of those places and people and lifestyles for me was flexibility with my time. I really, really deeply desired to have choice and agency. And for me, prior to being a therapist, I was in education and my time was not my own. My time was dictated for me. It was micromanaged and I was not happy. I wanted to have agency in how I showed up for people. And I wanted to have an ease with my work because I knew that I had skills and talents in this area. And I knew that my story could be really meaningful and could be productive in helping me grow as a clinician. But I just didn't feel like I was worthy of asking for my time. I didn't feel that I was worthy around my agency and my choice because I was conditioned to feel grateful for the scraps. Sometimes, it's like, how dare you complain about something like a job? I just didn't feel like I could choose. And so after I established that pattern, I was then able to say, oh, this is what I'm envying. I have the same skill set as this other person, but I just didn't believe that I was worthy enough to have the choice. So again, follow it with curiosity, see where it leads you, and I will see you back here next week. Take really, really good care of yourselves and have a great rest of your week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope you leave feeling a little lighter, a little more grounded, and a little closer to trusting yourself and your inner experience. If this episode resonated with you, please follow or subscribe so future conversations can meet you when they're needed. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, consider sharing this episode with them. That's one of the ways this work reaches the people who need it the most. You can find me on Instagram at Cindy Payne Rooted, and you can also visit me at cindypayne.com, where you'll find all episode links, blog posts, practice updates, and a free people-pleasing style quiz designed to help you notice your patterns with more compassion. And remember, every small step towards healing, self-trust, and presence matters. You are worthy of this journey. Thanks, everyone.